When you open Calico, this is the screen that you will see. It defaults to a home page, an output area, and a new Python script. So it defaults to Python. But we're going to work with Jigsaw. So I'm going to click on the new, and now I get a list of all the possible things that I can open, that I can start a new program in. So I'm going to click on Jigsaw. So we have our Jigsaw program open, and we're going to make a couple of very simple scripts using the very basic tabs over here. So we're really just going to focus on control, statements, input, and output. We'll deal with procedures maybe later in the trimester. So when you open Calico and a new Jigsaw program, you see the default is usually to have this block over here when the script starts, because of course you want something to happen. And to start a script, you're going to click the green button that says run a script when you click on it. And of course we don't have anything over here, so nothing is happening. It just resets our output area and that's it. I'm going to make these areas just a little bit bigger so we can see them. So I'm going to start actually with input output. We'll come back to statements in just a second. And we're going to start with this top one, which is a simple print statement. So you can print pretty much anything in Jigsaw. The most common thing to print are words, of course. And we have right here the word hello. So if I click the green button, we get hello printed over here. Now if I want to print something else, I'm going to come down here to expression. I'm going to delete hello and I'm going to put my name is Dr. Blankenship. And you'll notice that I have this in single quotes. You could also put double quotes. And the other thing that you have to do is you have to hit the enter key. So you want to make sure that your label says has your statement up here the way that you want it, and this expression is correct. Otherwise, it might not print what you want, or it'll have whatever was there before. So I'm going to click the green button, and sure enough, it prints over here. My name is Dr. Blankenship. So that's a simple print statement. We could also print numbers, so I could print the number 3. Not all that exciting, but hey, we've got a 3. We could also print, we could make it do some addition. We could have it print 4 plus 3. That's an expression. So it will evaluate that expression and then give us the answer to that. We could do something a little more complicated. We could do 4 times 3, and that would give us 12. Divided by is a slash. You might know that from your digital calculators. And that gives us a repeating number, 1 1/3. And of course subtraction is just a minus sign. And there are other mathematical functions you can do, but those are the basics. So we can print strings or words and sentences, or we can print numbers or expressions. So those are pretty cool. So the other things in the input-output section, I'm going to drag this off. To get rid of something, you just drag it off the screen. It double checks that you really do want to get rid of that. So we have the ability to speak. This is another pretty simple thing. We could put another string in here. So I could say, my name is Dr. Blankenship. And it will speak that out loud, as well as print it to the screen over here.
My name is Dr. Blankenship.
So not the best voice in the world, but there it is. It's over here. My name is Dr. Blankenship, and of course it said it out loud. This will also, presumably, I think it will only take strings, so let's try it.
7.
So it actually evaluates our expression and then speaks the response. So it works a lot like print, just that it actually says it out loud. So those are 2 simple input-output. Those are mostly output. You give it some input, gives you an output, whether it's a voice or text on the screen. So another thing over here we're going to get to in just a second. We're going to go to statements for just a minute. And we've got a couple, we're going to just look at this first one for right now. This one is basically the same as this first one. It just has an expression after it. So you might remember from math the term variable. And you'll notice that down here we have this word variable. Now in math, variables are often letters. There are things like X and Y and A and B. You might have seen Z. In computer science, you use variables as well, and you can make them be letters if you want. But in computer science, we often set our variables to be something that makes sense. We're not going to talk a lot about that right now. I'm just going to show you how that works. So that if I wanted to add a couple of numbers together, I might want my variable to be something like sum. Now sum is actually a special expression, so let's make this sum of numbers. So my variable is now set to sum of numbers. Some people might put some capital letters in there. That's another way to do it. We're not going to worry about our form too much. And then in the expression, just like in the print statement where you had an expression, down here we could set sum of numbers equal to just a plain old number. But sum of numbers implies that you're going to add a couple of numbers together. So we're going to add, let's say, 5 plus 3 together. So I'm going to run this, and you'll see that basically nothing happens. Over here we just have a reset. It did add these numbers together, but we can't see it. So if we wanted to see those numbers, what we would need to do is create an output. And we've seen two different outputs. We have print and we have speak. So we could print, and instead of putting print hello or print our actual expression like we did before, we're going to put that variable in there. So variables are useful in computer science because we can put them into other expressions. So I could actually print sum of numbers plus 3 if I wanted to, and that would take these two numbers and then add 3 to it. So here we're going to print that sum out, and we have 8 over here. So that's how you might use an expression. So the other things that we have over here, so we'll talk more about variables and expressions later, but I just wanted, since that's one of the first things that's over here, I wanted to show that to you. Now you could set, one other thing that you could do is we could set this variable, we could actually set it to be a name, and then we wouldn't probably want numbers in here, we'd want an actual name in here, so I'm going to put Dr. Blankenship. And then we might want to print that name out, and just like we printed the sum of numbers before, we would print name, only this time it's going to be a string instead of a sum. So you see that Dr. Blankenship prints. So you can print numbers, you can print strings or words and sentences. Strings is just another way of saying words and sentences in computer science. We can set variables to be numbers or strings or equations. You can also print equations. So there are lots of different ways to interact with these things. So that's the basics of how to get started, and we're going to use a lot more of these things, especially under the control area, a little bit later.